Hi, guys. I am really excited about this exercise, this worksheet. It's so cool because it's a chance for you to let your higher self speak through you. And I know you're like, oh, I'm not good at that kind of thing. I can feel you're saying that already in your head. I'm not psychic. But actually, your higher self is ready to speak through you. I guarantee if you just give it a chance. And this is definitely going to work because it does work always, as long as you follow my instructions. So let's think about last week when I did the live call and I had told you the story of the gamblers, where they used something like a lie detector machine. It's not a lie detector machine, but it's something like that to measure gamblers' responses prior to the cards even being laid down. The gamblers always know whether they're going to be dealt a good card or a bad card because it shows an electromagnetic frequency of a real maybe high vibration, like a positive feeling that the gambler will have prior to the card even being laid down if he's going or he or she's going to get a good card. And when a bad card's going to be laid down, the gambler has this sort of slow, dense sort of vibration. So they know again prior to the card being laid down where they're going to have a good card or a bad card. And that's what the technology has shown again and again and again with people gambling, both professional gamblers and just new people new to gambling. They've checked a lot. And it's so interesting because just because they really, really know, doesn't mean they act on it at all. Just because they know doesn't reflect at all in their performance in the game, because what happens is they know before the card's laid down, but the logical mind jumps in and affects their choices. So that's very interesting. So you do remember me saying that, and if for some reason you don't remember me saying that, you might want to revisit last week's call on some of that intuitive work. But that was what I was trying to tell you guys, is that we are all psychic, but the logical mind gets in the way and we block our intuition, our higher self's guidance. So this exercise, and any exercise I do like this, a speed round, allows the higher self to just come pouring through you as long as you write down the first word that comes to mind, the first vision that comes to mind, the first feeling that comes to mind. Write that down. And it is not time for you to step in the way of the higher self speaking. The higher self will have the answer prepared for you before I even ask the question. Just like I said, the higher self knows what the card's going to be and gives the gambler a good feeling if it's a good card prior to the card even being laid down by the dealer. So before I even ask the question, the higher self is about to pour out the answer. So that's why there's no time lag. There's no time for you to stop and block the higher self. I don't want you to capture and contemplate anything. Just first thought that comes to mind, first feeling that comes to mind, first memory that comes to mind. Just let it go. We can deal with thinking about it later. So this is a beautiful thing because this conversation really right now is between me and your higher self. And how nice it will be to hear and feel and experience the voice of the higher self in this exercise. So I'm super excited about it and I'm feeling good. So you should be feeling good because you're going to learn an awful lot about your higher self now. So I'm going to be just like the old school teacher, the elementary school teacher, and I'm going to read this worksheet to you step by step. You can read it too and have your paper and pen. And I'm just going to go through it very much like school. So here we go. I'm reading the very first page, the cover page. And as you see, the title says, "Where did I make a difference?" So in the following worksheets, we are going to do a speed round to learn more about you. Remember, the purpose of the speed round is to answer a question as fast as possible so your mind does not interfere. Your intuition comes pouring through immediately. Doing this speed round will generate excitement and help you tap into your core desired feelings. So we're on the first page of the worksheet. I just finished reading the cover, and the title on this page again is Where Did I Make a Difference? So here's the first paragraph. In this worksheet, you're going to observe the last few months or year of your life for fulfilling moments where you feel your existence made a difference. It could have been just a kind word you said one day to someone. It could be when you simply smiled and uplifted someone, or it could be a period when you were doing some meaningful work that had benefits for others. It also could be events in which you were honoring yourself by giving to yourself in some way that made a difference. So I really want to repeat that part, because what you did last year to make a difference, it feels like it's just charity and community service. It could be a simple smile or a compliment, but a big part of it is when you were honoring and good to yourself, and you were taking care of your physical body, or you were doing something that really felt good for your health. And the reason I say that's such an important aspect of service is because if you are healthier, you can show up for people in a whole different way. Your vibration, your smile, your energy will just be a healing presence when you're feeling good. So I want you to flow that too. If something comes up last year that you did that was good for you too, if that's the first thing that comes up, don't block it. If you see yourself having a nourishing detox, or a great workout, or a hike, or a walk with friends, or a chat on the phone with a friend that just uplifted you, that can be an answer. Because when I say what you did last year to make a difference, it could be for someone else, or it could be honoring yourself. So that's a big one. Self-care is a big aspect. I won't go into it further. I'll highlight that from time to time through the worksheet, because this is really important, that this is about wherever you made a difference, even if it was for you and your body and your energy levels. So here we go. Step one, the highlights. So you're going to write down all the positive, fulfilling events from your past year or season that lit you up. Side note, what you forget or choose not to put on your highlight list can be very revealing about what really truly matters. So I'm going to start with the end of last year, the last quarter of last year. We're going to start there because it was a little more of a normal time then. And so I want you to look at the last quarter of last year, whatever that means to you, whether it's September or October. Don't overthink it, just whatever you consider the last quarter. And I want you to write down all the positive, fulfilling events that come up from the last quarter of last year. I will give you time, but you can also pause so you have some time. But remember, let the first thought, the first image, the first memory, the first feeling, the first aha moment, and don't block it, right? Just do stream of consciousness thinking. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment, but you can also put me on pause because I'm going to move to the next step soon. So you probably need to go ahead and put me on pause so you have some time to do this. Okay, so hopefully you just unpaused me, and we will go to step two, pattern recognition. So now that you've got a list, what patterns do you see in your highlights list from the end of last year? What contributions to yourself or others made your heart swell with meaning and joy? Was there a big or important event that happened but didn't make it onto your list? What does that say about you? Forgetting or choosing to not put something significant on your list isn't necessarily a negative thing, but it's definitely worth analyzing. So I'm going to give you a moment to see what patterns show up, and you pause me right now and come back when you're ready to go with the next part of the exercise. So I'm assuming you've just unpaused me, and I bet you found some things there. Now, I want to now move into the first quarter of this year. So let's look at the first quarter of this year and do the same exercise. This year is very different than last year. Different things are going to come up. And go ahead and go back to step one, again, writing down all the positive, fulfilling events from your past year, season that lit you up, where you really made a difference. Again, whether it's a smile or a thought or a hug or something charitable, or just being with someone who needed you, or asking forgiveness from somebody, or just going through a period of not judging people. It can be absolutely anything. And again, your higher self will let you know what you need to know about. And don't forget that self-care part. So again, pause me and redo step 1 for the first quarter of this year. So I guess you've just unpaused me, and why don't you go ahead and look at step 2, pattern recognition. What patterns do you see in your highlights list? What contributions to yourself or others made your heart swell with meaning and joy? Was there a big or important event that happened but didn't make it onto your list? What does that say to you? Again, I'm going to repeat this: forgetting or choosing to not put something significant on your list isn't necessarily a negative thing, but it's definitely worth analyzing. So I'll give you time to pause me again and look at what patterns you see and what's shown up. And now we are looking at step 3. So I'm assuming you've just unpaused me and we're on step 3. What really mattered? What have you learned? What moved you the most, both last year and the first quarter of this year? What gave your life purpose and meaning? Felt like forward progress? Delighted you and others? Made you proud, thrilled, and really made a difference, even in a small way, in your past year or season? So again, pause and just really look at what really mattered. What have you learned? So you could summarize a bit what you've learned about yourself here. Pause and write these things down. And I've assumed you've unpaused me now. We're on step 4. Where do I focus? So determine 5 contributions towards yourself or others you want to focus on in the next year or phase of your life. Easier said than done, but focus is essential for your fulfillment. This list will change, but what would you love to focus on in the next phase of your life? And that could be tomorrow, next week, next quarter. What would your ideal look like? Pause me again and take some time here to determine where you want to focus. Okay, so you've unpaused me and now we are on the next page. How do I want to be? Now, I want you to click on this list here. And this list will take you to some core desired feelings that describe your way of being. So based on what you've learned from yourself, I want you to look at what kind of person do you want to be? Looking at that list, looking at those adjectives, I'm just looking at something. I want to be empowering. I want to be limitless. I mean, there's a lot of words that are going to come up for you that aren't on this list. You might, I'm just seeing where my eye is darting. I see words like, I want to be authentic. I want to be grounded. I want to be present. Yeah, just find, these are ways of being, not ways of feeling necessarily. It is a feeling, but it's also a characteristic that you're wanting to take on. That, again, I want to say that what's a little bit different about today's discussion is we're in that process of moving from me to we. And so as you've looked at where you made a contribution through your own energy, through your own vibe, through your own kind words or smile, you can think about ways of being, personality characteristics that would be useful for you in planning your life in the next quarter. It's not just how you want to feel, but how you want to be, so that just your energy alone is a fantastic contribution. So yeah, we have it really, yeah. So you can be looking at that list, and you also will have it on your personal worksheet that was sent to you. Yeah. So yeah, look at some of these ways of being: empowering, limitless, connected, nourished, creative, invigorated, radiant, a beacon of light, fierce, supple, vibrant, abundant. What core frequency do you want to radiate that will be uplifting, healing to yourself, others, family members, friends, office workers, colleagues, anybody on the street, people in the grocery store, people who pass you? What vibe do you want to radiate? So you can pause me and you can look at that list for as long as you like and take some quality time. Okay, great. So you've been through that list, you found some ways of being, and I'd like you now to take some time and look at the categories. You're going to take those ways of being and assign them to different aspects of your life, different categories of your life. As you see, number one, well, let me go back to reading the instructions that were just beyond that list. I said this list provides you core desired ways of being. Then you see here, when we offer of ourselves, it is not just what we do or say, but it is a way of being that can provide an energy of support and service. As you look at the list of core desired ways of being, you can look at how much you want to be in the various, to look at how you want to be in the various areas of your life in order to contribute a much needed energy. So number one, as I honor my needs and contribute to myself in my lifestyle I want to be. Now, again, you can use that first thought that comes to mind. You can pause me and go through this part of the worksheet. I'm going to keep reading it. Maybe you just write the first thing, or you can pause me and come back to me later. I'm going to keep reading this section. In my number two, in my work career, I want to be. Number three, when I contribute to my body and wellness, I want to be. 4, in my creativity and learning, I want to be. 5, within my relationships and society, I want to be. And 6, within my essence and spirituality, I want to be. So I want to just tell you just a quick story about me to show you what you'd expect to come up, what the higher self is actually wanting, isn't necessarily what you would expect if your logical mind jumped in. So when I got to number 3, I said, when I contribute to my body and wellness, my way of being I wanted to be was selfish, but educational and generous. So what I meant here is, in the last few years in Phuket Cleanse, I just really didn't feel like I had time to exercise, to take care of myself. It was all about running the company, making sure everything went well, and I didn't take care of myself. So I actually feel at this point in my life, I want to be a little selfish about putting my body and my health first so that I can show up for everybody in a high vibe, high-spirited way. So when I wrote, I actually want to be selfish. And you might say, well, this is about going from me to we. Yeah, but the best thing I found is for me to be a little bit selfish when it comes to taking care of my body. But I want to be educational. So if I learn new things about health and wellness, I want to share it. And I want to be generous. I have some extra supplements or food, or I'm doing a workout somewhere and I can invite someone to join me. I want to be generous. So that was interesting to find that I actually want to become selfish. When this exercise is a little bit more about getting to be more selfless, I found the best way I could be more selfless is to be a little selfish. And then in my areas of, in my career, I realized that in the past, on number 2, I would have always said, I want to be trailblazing. That was the most important thing. I want to be trailblazing. And at this time, I want to be inspiring, meaning I want to give other people the energy and the excitement to be trailblazing. I don't have to be the trailblazer. So that changed a bit for me. So those are just a few examples that came up as I did the exercise. So the last part of the exercise is what seems to be the ways of being that feel most exciting to you. You could just answer that question and just have a few words that you want to use as keywords. I think it's quite interesting to put this on a wall somewhere, because what you're doing is grounding the voice of the higher self. And as I've mentioned, when you do any kind of work with the higher self, it's very elusive and it will disappear. And then you'll wonder even if it happened at all. So I feel it's important to ground this, keep this by you, look at it every day as you start the day, or as you're walking by, if you have it in the mirror in the bathroom and you can see the way you want to be every day. So it's sort of like you're allowing you to dial into the frequency of who you want to be that day by looking at this again. If you can put it in a visible area on your desk or wherever. And then a follow-up exercise, I thought would be fun to see, where I said, watch this video from the legendary life coach, Dr. Wayne Dyer. Dr. Wayne Dyer was considered one of the best life coaches and manifestation coaches for about 35 years. He wrote a great book, one of the first manifestation books, called Manifest Your Destiny. And here's one of his favorite exercises, so you can integrate the knowledge and the energy that you've identified as an important energy you want to embody by doing the exercise he provides in this video. And I'd also like you to take the energy, the feelings, the way of being, and revisit this clairsentient chi ball meditation to feel into that energy again too. So this is fun. You should have learned a bit more about yourself. Again, some of those things that you would have expected to come up from last year or this quarter probably didn't come up, and you found things that really meant a lot more to you than you really realized. So again, this exercise was also the bridge of going from the mindset of me to we. So starting to look at your contribution, not just those tangible things we want for ourselves, but more we-centered, we-centric, we-focused. So thank you so much for doing this with me. Please feel free to send me messages, what you learned about yourself. I will read and respond and work with you on each and every message you send to me in regards to this exercise.